Aloha, it's Dave Lawrence. How you doing? I hope that you're awesome and that only good things are happening for you. Today, we have a very good thing, a special moment to catch up with a true gentleman, a wonderful keyboardist, vocalist, songwriter, and diversely talented musician that I've brought you interviews with twice before, including one of the special remote broadcasts that I'm most proud of in my career, inside the Diamond Head Crater. This guy's rocked that historic site and many others that we'll hear about, including his upcoming reunion with Eric Burdon at the Royal Albert Hall in April, and what's in store tonight in Honolulu, tomorrow for a Friday night show at the Mac in Kahului, and Saturday at the Hilton Waikoloa Village on the Big Island. It is a treat I am grateful for to speak again with my friend, Lonnie Jordan of War. Aloha, brother.
Aloha. It's good to be here.
Thank you. Good to be talking to you.
Yeah, well, I'm here in spirit also.
And what a great spirit you have, and it's so timely to have you visiting the islands now, because ahead there's a big event coming up that we've been hearing about in the news, and I'm hoping that you can give me some behind-the-scenes dialogue and activity that led to the reunion with Eric Burdon that's coming.
Oh man, it was a long time coming, and I basically the fact that that life has changed and everyone's changed. We're not getting any younger, and we realize that we're waiting too long to try to get back together and do something that we know that we've been itching to do for the longest. And actually, by way of other people asking if we would do this, we stopped and thought about it. Wow, you know something? That's a great idea. But otherwise, everyone is so busy doing their own thing until it just went away. The thought went away over time.
And that's great. I mean, a lot of reunions, though, happen because, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it, a promoter or an organization says, you know what, we'd love to fund this, we want to do it, you know? And so it sort of did it come from a promoter then?
Well, actually, it came from one of the people that are working with us, Joel Brandis. What he did was he asked around. He had it in mind to do it because I had it in my mind, but not the way he did. He just, he's one of those kind of guys, well, the thought's there, let's pursue it. And me, I procrastinate. I go into denial. So does Eric. And we just didn't know how to put together the tools or how to mend it or put it together in order to make it work. So Joel Brandis was the one who actually brought up the concept in order to do it, and I said, let's see if you can do it, because it's not just about the political part of it, but it's also a mental thing, you know, of two guys who haven't worked together in almost 30 years, you know, so, but at the same time, we're happy that we can do this, and this is what's going to make the show fantastic, is the fact that we want this. It's almost like the same hunger that we had back then, the same humbleness also.
And that does. It brings a sense of drive that you just can't fake that authenticity. And for this one gig, which is in late April, Royal Albert Hall in London, how much rehearsal time will lead up to that so that you can craft what you're going to present?
Rehearsal? What's that?
You guys just going to blow it out 60s, 70s style?
Well, actually, we are going to get together in Tool Shed a little bit, and I guess if you want to call that a rehearsal. But what we plan to do is to jam, and we're going to probably have a list of a couple of songs that we probably want to work on. But basically, it's going to be a jam like it was back in the days, you know. And we're going to, of course, hit a few hits like "Spill the Wine" and "Tobacco Road," you know, some of the stuff off the Black Man's Burden album. And possibly we may just, War Without Eric may just open the show by doing two songs of our own, like Lowrider, Why Can't We Be Friends, then bring Eric out, and then possibly an encore, do one of Eric's songs that he did with the Animals, kind of get please everyone.
So there could be a historical retrospective aspect to hitting all the different eras of your career. I guess that my next question, you sort of answered it, but I just want to clarify. Is there any chance that we would be seeing Eric doing the post-Eric material like Lowrider and stuff, where you guys would all be doing that together? I mean, I think for fans that would really be, that'd make your heart beat kind of fast.
Well, Eric loves being on stage with us. I mean, he always wanted to just be part of the band. Well, at least back in the day when he first started with us, but since everyone knew him as the Animals, they wanted to see Eric of the Animals, not War, because War was brand new. They didn't even know who War was. Some people still don't. but Eric would probably come up on stage and jam with us doing our stuff and just make it a whole jam. That's what it's all about. And we're contemplating on recording while we're doing this rehearsal jam thing. And the Albert Hall will possibly have a live DVD out of that at Albert Hall.
That doesn't surprise me. And so there will be a certain amount of time leading up to it. Will you rehearse in the States or over there?
It'll be in the States, and of course we'll have a sound check and go over things, and just to make sure we still have our jamming ability, But other than that, we're planning on once this hits off at the Albert Hall, then we're going to take that to the next stage and possibly do some more touring over in Europe. And, a lot of people think that England is Europe, but it's not, unless they've changed it now. It's called the British Isles. And then when you get beyond that, Germany and all the other places, that's considered Europe.
So there is so you've laid it out. There really is a plan to potentially do Eric Burdon and War as a tour.
Yeah, and to record music.
New music.
Plus,
you'll archive the show by going to DVD with it.
Correct. And not to mention War also without Eric Burdon. We're working on a DVD now, live DVD that we did in Los Angeles at the Anaheim Grove.
War the Band, a great place for people to stay up with you online, wartheband.com.
Yeah. We're, as fast as possible, we try to update as much as we can, but sometimes we're moving so much, we have to make sure that the guy that's doing it for us gets everything, gets all the information as fast as we do. But then once we get information, sometimes we're already out here on the road. So,
No, it moves quick, and I always encourage people to stay on top of bands with their official sites. And something that you, during the original era with Eric Burdon, got to be a part of was in London. It was a critical moment in rock history. It's one of those moments that, and I know you feel strongly about it, because many people try to have a version of what happened, or write about what happened, or tell a story, and they're often removed from the actual incident and the time frame. And I'm talking about in September of 1970, you happened to be booked for a series of shows at Ronnie Scott's in London. It was the exact time that the world was about to lose one of the greatest musicians ever. And you and I talked about it a long time ago on the phone, but while I have you here, because it's one of the many things that touching Lonnie Jordan means you can touch, if you can just go back over the details of some of Jimi Hendrix's last moments that you were a part of.
Well, I know that we had 5 nights at Ronnie Scott's, and it was Tuesday night, which I remember. Those are probably some of the only things I remember. But the fact that he came down and I loved what he was wearing, and I said, I got to get one of those hats, Jimmy. And he had the jacket. I said, that's what I got to get, because that's my style of clothes. And I remember being in the back dressing room, and Eric was jokingly making the comment to me and him, saying, "Oh, you two do look alike, mate." Talking about me and him, because we both had a thin mustache and some hair. Yeah, and I was younger then, so but that was funny. But he didn't bring his guitar. We said, "Where's your guitar?" I said, "You're here. You might as well jam with us." And he said, "I promise I'll bring it tomorrow," which was Wednesday night. He bought his guitar, and there was a small amplifier, just a small one, so he could just play ordinary guitar, no loud sound effects or anything like that, no effects. And we ended up jamming on Mother Earth for a whole hour. And then after we were done, after all was said and done, everyone went to their prospective homes, and then we get this call early Thursday morning that he was suffocating. The lady that was with him obviously was panicking and didn't know what to do, and she didn't want to get in trouble and didn't want to get busted, and so he suffocated on his own vomit, and they couldn't revive him. The doctors could not revive him, but it could have been avoided had someone been there in the beginning and knew what to do. But such is life. Things like that do happen, and they did happen back in those days. But in the meantime, it was a scary moment for me because I'm young and I'm like all this new things happening with me. Here we are flying on the first Pan Am 747 that flew to Heathrow, and that was like a shock to my body. And then everyone's taking acid. That was new for me. And then being in a new country, that was all new. And then Hendrix, who we had already seen in the earlier months because of some of the dates that we did, like at Devonshire Downs in L.A., and my manager stayed at the bungalow, and that's where I first met Jimi, because he was very good friends of my manager and producer at the time, Jerry Goldstein and Steve Gold. And plus we had ran past each other over time in the past because of some of the places that we played when he used to back up people like the Isley Brothers and Little Richard and no telling whoever else, and so did we. So we played some of the same circuits, in clubs. So we ran past each other without knowing it, and we mentioned places that, oh yeah, okay, Seattle, LA, just numerous places on the West Coast scene.
So you had interacted with him enough to know each other, to actually know each other prior to the 1970s.
We knew of each other, but then we started, like I said, we started talking about places that we've been before and that we passed each other and didn't know it. But at the same time, through what really connected all of that was the way we all played Mother Earth, which was the same way we all remembered as a flashback playing the blues in the earlier years when we were all doing other things, but ironically, the most strange part of that whole incident of Jimi Hendrix passing away was the fact that what I remembered more clearer was the fact that we played Mother Earth, and the song, it's in the lyrics, and he went right back to Mother Earth.
That's very much fitting, and I was going to say, of all things to have been doing, and as your jam.
And yeah, and it's just like, sort of like the story was being written right there, and we didn't even know it. We were playing Mother Earth all night, and Eric singing the lyrics exactly what took place. We spend our life trying to get into a hole, and then we come out of one, and then we end up back in one, and don't care what you have, don't care what you're worth. We all still got to end up going back to Mother Earth. It's in the lyrics. No,
that's heavy stuff, and I'm glad that we took the time to talk about that because we had done that before. But it's one of the many things that you bring to the table. And I wanted to share something with you. A loyal listener, Rick the Mystery Faxer, this is from that same sort of era and time of your life. He sends me a lot of local history from news clips, and it gives me, as someone who's not from here but who's lived here for a long time, a lot of perspective because he sends me photocopies of ads and reviews, and so I get a lot of old history brought to life by way of these contributions that he makes to me. And I just wanted to share one of them with you. This is the first Hawaii appearance of War. It was from June 27th, 1970.
You got to let me have this.
Civic Auditorium.
Let me have one of them at least.
Yeah, I will get you that entire thing.
So I was right. So this is helping me to remember what I went through here, and that might have been my second or maybe my first, what year? 70. Yep. That was our first time in Hawaii. You only had maybe 2 or 3 buildings, you know. And what happened was is that I was not familiar with hot rain at the time. Hot rain I was not familiar with, and that was my first time being on the island, and just like it was very primitive for me back then. It was well, not just for me. It was all the locals were here. It was the real Hawaii, and I loved it. I didn't. The only thing was is that everyone's name was Lonnie, and I would always have, huh? And that really tripped me out because I said, why is everyone named Lonnie? You know. So that was one of the memorable moments that I can remember, and then you know, not to change the subject, but wow.
And that's also a review of, or information about, the Crater 78, which you were a part of. So this is really, I've got all this local history on you here.
River Band, yeah, those were the days, man. I was young, but not to change the subject, but you know, Buddy Miles passed.
Just 2 days ago on Tuesday.
Yeah, and I mean, as we were talking about Jimi Hendrix, you know, it was later, you know, that, well, I guess I forgot the time when Buddy actually got with them, but I know that Buddy, my drummer, Harold Brown, our original drummer, got into a little bit of some trouble with the law. And I think it was just a ticket or something, but he ended up in jail, and we had a gig to do, and we needed to audition people, and Buddy Miles was one of those people. But back then, he was real skinny. I'll never forget it. This guy was wearing khaki coat and khaki pants, and later on, we saw him again, and he was bigger, and said, is that the same guy? And it was the same guy. It was Buddy. And he reminded us that he did that audition for us. He was too good. So we didn't use him because he was too good. We needed someone that was a little less, you know, someone that was more, at that time, someone that wasn't into being aggressive, a non-aggressive drummer. We just needed someone that would just lay back and make mistakes and just play. Just play.
Yeah, he was more of a character who was like a frontman drummer.
Exactly. That was probably what it was, and we were all basically our own backing band to ourselves. You know, there was no leaders. You know.
Were you at that 69? You mentioned Devonshire Downs and that was Buddy Miles Express and Jimi.
Jimi was, yeah.
Okay, so and they did that crazy jam, that one like 33-minute. Were you part of that thing?
Well, I wasn't playing on it because
you were there.
I was there, yeah, and Marvin Gaye was on that one, and I think Frank Zappa. Yeah, Frank Zappa was on that one too, I believe, and Mothers of Invention. I just remember different groups that came out, what I can remember, and it was like 3 days, I think.
Right, of shows there.
Yeah, and I do remember leaving the concert and running into a wall in Laurel Canyon. My manager Terry McVeigh, we're like jumped on the back of the truck, and he runs into a mountainside. That's not being crazy and wild back in those days. I don't know what was.
Well, you've been through a lot of stuff, and you've been very generous with me today with your time. This is a fascinating interview that I think a lot of people will enjoy. Just one final question to end it with, Lonnie. I'm sorry?
That's what it's all about, the fans, man, to enjoy the past is like a movie.
Yeah, it is. It is. And we retell it in ways like this, it brings it back to life. There's one thing, kind of a different subject, though. If you had just one thing to say on a personal note as advice to your fans and as advice to people who may tune in and catch this, about what are important things in life as you look back, things that you could tell people, don't miss out on this, or don't get distracted by this. I have found this is important, or I wish I had paid more attention to this. Is there anything you can share like that to add to the musical legacy that you've given us?
Yeah. Be careful of the presidents that you vote for so we can keep music in schools. That's one thing, but no. I would say it depends on what age bracket I'm talking to, but I would say to all my fans, first of all, be careful what you say in life and what you do, especially if you're involved in music, because whatever you say, just remember you are a troubadour. when it comes to music. And when I say troubadour, that means you're like a minister, a doctor of music, 24 hours a day. And you remember, you got to be a magician to be a musician. So anything you say and do will be held against you in a court of musical law. So just be careful, because when the people come in to a concert, they're in another mindset, because they come in with an experience of that day. And now you're going to give them another experience to take out. Now, sometimes that experience could lead to something fatal or something good. Now, that's up to that troubadour, that doctor of music, the performer. So I would just say, be careful what you choose to get into, and especially music, because it's not just about music, it's also the music business. And again, you are the doctor.
I appreciate that, Lonnie. That is, it's great to get to talk to you and hear this stuff right from you. A big mahalo to King Michelle Concerts and Brother Michael there, and most of all to you, Brother Lonnie Jordan. Thanks for doing this third interview with me. It means a lot.
Thank you very much. See you tonight, and bring plenty of water, because that stage will be smoking.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha. It's Lonnie Jordan from the band War. Remember me? And you're right where you should be. Enjoying the best show on the air with my friend and your friend, Dave Lawrence. Aloha, Dave.